I guess we're live. It's just YouTube backend isn't showing me anything because of freaking crash. But whatever. Um, it looks like we're playing on YouTube. I guess. Yeah, that's a great start. Anyway, welcome everyone to the Toku Portal podcast. It's me Zero here with,
Dedicate.
and that's it. um, yeah, I guess we started a bit too late for everybody else. Anyway, bit of housekeeping first, I guess. Uh, Yes, we did record the Sentai episode for this week. It's just we couldn't stream it because of technical issues. We'll upload it hopefully after this or soon-ish, sometime this week. But yeah, it's done. It just needs to be uploaded. Hopefully you guys are hearing us okay. All right. Decade, I'm just gonna ask you your thoughts on this episode, and then I can just check the audio. Right.
Okay.
On this episode.
Well, just for Sogo in general, his personality's more clear. I mean, he's still working on him, other than future story. But yeah, it's all right. He's not super interesting, but he's polite. He's somewhat of a smartass, so I don't totally hate him. And we'll probably see more sides of him when the enemies get tougher. But for now, it's
Okay, it seems to be working now. Um, yeah, I guess I'll just ask you to repeat what you just said. Sorry, man. Decade.
yeah. Test. I don't know. Are we working?
Yeah, I'm getting my audio now. Um, okay, your audio's coming in now too. So, I guess we can restart. Um,
Okay.
okay, I'm messing with my mic. Yeah, I guess I'll go. What did general thoughts on this episode? Well, you know what?
I
Let
don't
me
know.
re-
There's not
let me just recap it quick, and then you can give your thoughts and my thoughts, and then we'll
much,
go.
but get more like. What?
All right. Um, so what happens in this episode is the another writer is Wizard, so we're going after Wizard, even though Haruto doesn't show up. Actually, he's not even gonna show up next episode. It looks like it's gonna be Nito, so Beast, which that's cool. I like Beast. That'd be cool to see him again. Um, yeah, what happens is they hear there's this really popular magic show, so man, I fucking remember nobody's like uh Geo decides or Zi-O, whatever, decides that he wants to go check it out because he hasn't been to a magic show. And then he takes Gates and Tsukiyomi with him. They find out that like the magician on stage is actually using real magic. They figure out that like Kamen Rider Wizard exists, so it could be another another writer version of Wizard. Um, then it cuts to us following the well. Then after the performance, like the gang basically confronts the magician, and then they kind of have a fight because Gates is like way too headstrong about like just taking him out even though he hasn't done anything. That's what Zi-O says. Like Gates attacks another wizard. Zi-O stops him. Another wizard escapes. Then it cuts to another wizard's like life. Shit, I don't remember what that character is called. Whatever. So another wizard. He's like a normal, nice guy person. It's interesting. He kind of goes like he's just trying to help out like this theater that's struggling because he kind of has a thing for like I guess the owner's daughter, but I guess she owns it now. Um, so he's trying to help her out. Um, he's not like super brave, but he's not super evil or anything. So he's just a guy. Um, what happens is like yeah, after like he fights the two riders, he pretty much is just hiding out in his apartment, and like I guess like another person who works at the theater just comes in and says like yeah, theater's shutting down. Like the person that another wizard likes is gonna marry that guy instead, and like another wizard kind of snaps, sort of. Um, I mean, to be fair, he's kind of being egged on by fuck, I remember nobody's names. Female time jacker, and like I guess he was originally given the power by like the youngest time jacker kid. Um, and then yeah, so they're kind of like messing with him, like powering him up, because like he kind of snaps and starts attacking people, and then like Gates shows up. But like throughout this episode, it's trying like the time jackers and wars are kind of like messing with like Zi-O and saying like Gates is kind of snapped. He's just going after like normal people and stuff, kind of. So they're kind of like building up the rivalry. Also, Schwartz or whatever shows up and he like almost tries to like kill Gates, but like which was cool. Like I wish he would have just henshin to save himself, but like Wars shows up to save him. Like that was interesting. But then Gates like wants to go and fight Wars even though he saved him. But then Wars is like, I mean, in all the times we've had fights, like, did you ever win? Like once? And then Gates kind of thinks about it and he's like, no, but that was in the past. so it just kind of tells you.
Future.
Yeah, that was pretty great. And then I guess that kind of just tells you that like Wars is pretty tough. And then it kind of also shows that like the Time Jackers and like Wars kind of have a thing going on where it's like, I mean, they're trying to like position their own kings, but like Wars has a very specific version of the king he wants. Because like earlier on, like Zi-O's kind of doing his thing, and it's like, I'm gonna become a kind king or whatever. And Wars like that's what I'm afraid of or something. So he's just there to maintain the main timeline. Anyway, yeah. So like the another writers, I mean another writer, another wizard, and like the writers fight sort of. And it kind of goes to a stalemate. Then Tsukiyomi shows up and it's like, "What are you idiots doing?" And they kind of de-henshin like after they kick another wizard's ass, but then like female time jacker shows up, powers him up, and then that's gonna lead into next episode. Yeah, like it was an okay episode, but like my recap is probably better than like watching. I mean, it wasn't a horrible episode. It's just like there's so. I mean, it's not true. Like it's nice that like another wizard's a nice guy instead of just being some villainous asshole or just out for himself. He's just some person trying to live his life. I'm like, that's kind of cool. It'll be interesting to. Okay, kind of interesting. To be fair, like if Nito wasn't showing up next episode, like I would have no interest. Um, I'm starting to see that as like a problem with the show. It's like it's so like mediocre. Like it's not terrible. It's just so like, oh, it's getting like a solid 6 out of 10. That I'm like, if like Beast doesn't show up next episode, like I wouldn't care. Like there's so many other shows, and it's not even that like I hate the show or anything. It's just like, why am I wasting my time with this when I can like? I feel like I should be reviewing a show I like instead of sitting through another season of shows that I don't like. Um. Anyway, what did you think of this episode, Decade?
Yeah, I thought it was fine. The fights were kind of pretty. Another wizard definitely had neat powers, but yeah, as far as the story goes, uh, we'll see. I mean, we get some more backstory on the freaking main character, and we still don't know where the hell the henshin devices and all that comes from. So it's kind of just like, I guess, hopefully that changes. But I do enjoy watching Waz kind of play his little games, and the time jackers are pretty creepy as well. So they're the main reason. Uh, but yeah, I am looking forward to seeing Nito next episode though, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like the worst part is like we've basically summarized everything worthwhile in this episode, and that was what, like 10 minutes, maybe not even. Uh, and it's like we could complain, like I could complain, but I'm like it's not worth the energy. That's kind of the problem. Where it's like something cool happened, like that Gates and Wars scene, or that like like the oldest time jacker showing up and almost fucking ending Gates. I'm like that's cool. Um, but like those are so far in between, and like the another wizard's like interesting that he's nice and all, but like again, yeah, as you said, like the biggest problem is like what's the deal with the main character? He's not interesting. I mean, like he's okay, but he's not interesting. Like how should I put it? Like okay, like Kuga wants to help everyone. Cool. Suichi doesn't have his memory. Ryuki tries really hard even though he gets over, I mean, like, he gets in way over his head all the time. Like, Fight, Takumi kind of just wants to be left alone, but secretly a nice guy, but is super socially awkward. So he's just trying to figure out what the fuck to do with himself. That's kind of interesting. Right? Like, Blade, it's his job. Starting off anyway, right? Like Hibiki, he's just a nice guy. It's like this is his role because it's kind of his job that he took up. Like he took up the mantle of becoming like one of the Hibiki riders. That's cool, and you kind of have to train to do that. It's kind of like a lifelong thing. You dedicate yourself. Kabuto. Okay, who is this weirdo who keeps saying he's the greatest thing, on the face of the earth, and he somehow has the skills to almost back it up? Right? Right. Deno, most unluckiest man in the world. As uninteresting as like Deno is for me to watch, like I couldn't get through the first. It's not because like Deno himself is boring. It's just like I don't like this weird comedy mix. Right? It's not because like the main character is not interesting. It's like, oh, I could see, stuff with this guy. Like he's okay in movies because like in movies you don't have to deal with so much comedy because there's plot, right? There's a show. It's weird. Kiva, it's got this really interesting dynamic between like Otoya and Watru. Like even if you're not watching, like that's why Kiva was my first writer show that I finished because like I couldn't give a shit I mean, like, I didn't care that much about the writer stuff, but like this whole like legacy hero like dynamic between like Otaya and Wataru, like father and son thing, was so interesting that you could just watch it as like a drama on its own.
Hmm.
You know, like Decade, like he's kind of a douchebag, but like at least he has a personality, and you kind of want to see what happens. I mean, like the episodes he's in aren't great, but like Decade himself is interesting enough to watch. And then you get into Double. Double's like super interesting because it's detective. O's like freaking Edgy and Ankh are so good. Like you literally can have nothing else happening. They're just so interesting to watch, like their dynamic play out, right? Then Forze, I didn't watch Forze, but like Genshiro has like so much fucking energy, you know, and his thing of like I will befriend anyone, like immediately you know what his deal is, right? Um, and then like Haruto's got this like, you know, he's carrying the burden of the world like always on his shoulders thing going on. It's pretty interesting to see, right? Um, shit. Gaim, like as mess of like as much of a mess as I think Gaim is, like at least like Kota's thing of like it starts out like, okay, I gotta find my place in the world now. Like that's an interesting setup for a writer show. If it stuck to that premise, like that would have been so much more interesting. Um, right. What I sh- like Drive, like Shinosuke, like the comedy is way too much in Drive, but like Shinosuke and the cops and stuff, like they're not boring, right? Like if it should have just been a police show. It could have been great. You know, we've had like police writer shows like Agito, Kuga, stuff like that. It would have worked perfectly. I mean, later on it kind of turns into that, but at the beginning not so much. But at least Shinosuke is still kind of interesting enough to watch. Even if he wasn't, like Kiriko and like the rest of the team is kind of wacky enough to work. It's weird. Like Drive has way too much comedy until they tone it down. Um, right. Uh, Ghost. Like as much as like Ghost kind of fell apart at the end, like it's not because Takuru's not interesting. Like Takuru's a guy who's basically, you know, like the son of a monk, kind of, right? Like he inherited this dojo thing, um, but he's not super spiritual and he's not super into tech. He's just kind of a lazy guy who's into reading about like his famous heroes and stuff, right? So he's kind of more of a dreamer. It's interesting, and it's got like a really good heart. So Takuru's kind of an interesting character too. Um, right. What happened? X8, like the doctors, everybody, every single character in X8's interesting. It's insane. Like the only person you could say is like, oh, that's a little, you know, less interesting, or maybe the nurses, but they're like side characters, so they don't really count because they rarely ever show up. Or Hero's dad, which could have been developed more, but you know, what are you gonna do? That's like the one complaint. Um, Build, like again, you know, good characters, not the best show, right? Like they should have had so much more done with them. Again, like amnesiac super scientist dude. He's got a wacky sense of humor. He's got like a protege and basically fuck cross Ryuga. There you go. You know, like their dynamic is interesting enough, and then you get to Build, and it's like, what the fuck, you know, like Gates and Tsukiyomi are interesting, but they're interesting because they're just literal rip-offs of previous characters. Oh, that's not true. Tsukiyomi is kind of like a mix of a couple different characters, right? But she's like Mari fused with insert whichever female character you want. She's mostly Mari, a little low-key. And then Gates is straight up Ren. You know, like that's why they're interesting. But like the main hero is like, what? What is there? Like he's a good guy, and we might get plot, but I'm like, when? You know, like halfway. And I know it's not like we can't have like every single Heisei writer showing up and getting two parters, because like that'd be like 38 different Heisei. I mean, 38 episodes of this show would be that. Um, so that's not gonna happen. But like at least those guys had personality, right? Like at least I know what their deal was early on. I mean, that's one of the problems with Drive also is like what the fuck is this show about early on? But like it's not that like the characters didn't have personality. It's just like where is this even going? Like what are they fighting for? And that took way too long to answer. Um but this show, like, yeah, I know it'll get there, but when? Like 20 episodes in? You know, like if I have to end a whole arc to know what the fuck the deal with the main character is, that's a bad way to write a show. You know? Like you could do the thing of like, oh, I'm just trying to help people and I'm super strong and stuff, but like there's multiple shows that are like that and they're more interesting. It's like I can talk more about like how little character this guy has than how much character he actually has. Like what do we know? Right? He goes around talking about he wants to be the king. Why does he want that? Why does he think being a king is cool? Like when did he ever get this idea from? Right? Like what was his plan if he wasn't gonna like become a writer? Like what does he do once this Kamen Rider shit's over? Right? I guess he has time powers, but like so does Deno, but like, you know, they have other shit that they do. Um it's just weird. Like we don't know what his deal is. And I think that's the biggest problem. It's like there's no draw. I mean, there's like the catch what happens next episode, but that's not even that interesting because like it's they're not like good twists, you know, because they're not even playing with the formula of like, oh shit, another person became, you know, writer. Writers are losing their powers, or you know, like an interesting twist. I mean, like the most interesting twist was probably like the Forze Fies thing, maybe, or I mean, this where the guy is a decent human being, but then what? Then it just turns into a normal Rider episode where we have two fights and the guy's a villain, so that leads into a two-parter. It's like it's fucking nothing. And the biggest problem is like I don't want to be the guy who complains, but it's like what else are you gonna do? Like I could literally be watching better shit right now. Like I just started a show like Section 2, right? Like early 2000s like supernatural-ish show. Like Supernatural from Zi-O. Oh well, more like if Supernatural met like X-Files or something. Like think Hellboy. Yeah, Hellboy. Like if it's a show about the Hellboy organization, right? Like I've seen like one episode and that has like way more character than this fucking 7 episode mess has, right? Fucking hell. I mean, I feel like we should be doing like we should be covering other writer shows just to show that like we don't hate writer, because like lately all we've been like, fuck, Evol's plan is stupid. Why is he wasting our time? Namba Industries is dumb. You know, like Kronos is shit. Like like so many episodes, and I don't even think that many people are watching Zi-O, because like if you look at the podcast numbers, they're like really low. So like either people are like, oh, you guys are too negative, or like nobody's really even watching this show to tune in. Um, like I don't know. Any thoughts? Like personally, this episode was okay, but that's about it. It was just a decent episode, like a 6 out of 10. Basically, like this show. Like this is the problem of this show. It's like, okay, it's passable. What else? You know? Like without the Nito cameo, like if this was any other show, like why would you watch episode 8? I don't know. Any thoughts you want to ramble off? I mean, I've rambled off way too much.
I mean, I'm just slightly optimistic that some sort of consistent plot, I guess, and character development, because we have seen the writer do some decent stuff before. So I don't know. But yeah, past writers have had way more character, way more edge of your seat story developments and turns. And I mean, holy crap, the Sentai that's running right now might not have crazy plot, but the character development is so damn good, and all the characters are lovable. So we'll just have to see else, and maybe something good will come out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I could ramble on more, but it's not going to be about the episode, so there's no point at this point.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess final thoughts. Okay, episode. I want to see Nito. That's the only reason I'm watching episode 8. To be honest, like, if I wasn't reviewing this, I probably would have dropped this show by now. I know it sucks hearing that, but, like, fuck, I'd rather wait. Because here's the thing, like, this is an insane season right now. Okay, Kamen Rider just started up. Doctor Who just started up. Flash just started up. Arrow just started up. Right? Like, you're competing against that. Oh, JoJo Part 5. You know, you're competing against that. Like, normally Rider holds its own or is better than most shit running right now. Like, even Build, for being hit or miss, like, was decent. This show is just nothing. Like, it has no power going forward.
All right, everyone, we're starting an Arrow cast.
We should. Holy shit! The ending of that episode. Have you seen?
I haven't watched it.
Oh
No,
my
no,
god.
no.
Okay, I'm not gonna spoil anything. Just watch the first episode. Uh, yeah. No, I was just thinking. Yeah, actually, listeners, if you're stuck around so far, like, what do you guys think? Do you guys want us to do more stuff? I mean, we're probably gonna try doing like a general like weekend weekly roundup type thing where it's just like, okay, we watched this stuff today. What did we think about it? Or not today, this week. What did we think about it? Instead of just breaking up into like 10 different podcasts, we're just gonna put it all in one. Like, we'll try it maybe this week, maybe next week. Hopefully you guys like it. Let us know how that turns out. Anyway, yeah, I did my thoughts, Decade, final thoughts.
Suits were pretty.
Yes, the
Waz
suits
was
are pretty nice.
Waz was great, but yeah, we'll see how it's spent next episode.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give this show this. The costumes are really good. That's about it. Like, the rider suits are really good and the monster suits are really good. But it's kind of a waste, right? Which is kind of sad, but oh well. Maybe it'll get its shit together once they've done shilling out all the rider watch stuff. Hopefully that happens soon. Anyway, yeah. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll catch you next time.
See ya.